Hi everyone, this is Odysseus and Circe from the Greek mythology, but it's a true crime story. Odysseus and his men just had a very bad encounter with some giants, the Lestrigor, and these giants destroyed half of their ships. They killed half of their men. So they were without a destination. They were just going across the sea, finding for a place to rest, to eat. And at some point they bump into this island. An island that was not in the maps. An island that was called Ia. But they know nothing else. It was a legend. But they decided to take the risk because this island looked very peaceful. There was the birds chanting, the sound of the waves. So they decided to drop by there, but they didn't expect what would have happened later. They stayed there, and there is, some diaries of Odysseus and his men. When they talk about this island, they said it was so peaceful to be scary. Okay, why? Why all that peace? And since they feel that safe, that sure, Odysseus decided to send a part of his men, almost everyone, to look for resources, to look for food, for fruits, and something else. And leading this group of people, there was Euroloco. There are many ways to talk about the second part of this story. We can say that at some point Odysseus was still at the camp, and he saw Euroloco, the second in command, coming without the rest of his men. And Odysseus was, what happened there? I mean, why are you coming back alone? And Euroloco, it was kind of driving crazy. Okay, he was saying that something happened. He was not sure about what. He said that they were going into the forest. They were walking and wandering, looking for resources. When at some point they spot this big house, a house in the middle of the forest. And this house was surrounded by exotic animals, okay? There were all the kinds of animals around that they were staring at them, with this gloomy eyes. And at some point from this house, a girl, a beautiful woman came out, and she invited them to come inside the house and enjoy a meal, a little wine with her. But Euroloco has this suspect. So while all his men, starving, thirsty, they went inside the house, he decided, to step back and remain outside, with an excuse that probably even this woman didn't take into consideration that much. When at some point he was, listening, hearing his mates, his fellow soldiers, having kind of party together, laughing, drinking, eating, screaming. And at the end, all these voices turn into something different. They were not screaming in a joyful way anymore. They were screaming of desperation, pain. And at some point he saw just this. He had this very bad feeling, so he decided to come back to the camp. Odysseus learned this story and decided to intervene. On the way to the house, while Odysseus was going alone, looking for this woman in this mysterious house, he bumped into a divine figure. Someone say that it was a god, someone say that it was the son of a god, a demigod. It could be everyone, but it was this person that approached him. And he told him, "Your men are still alive, but they're not safe. Take this plant." This plant was called moly, and it was a magical plant that can grow only in the divine fields of the heaven, of the sky. It's said to take this plant before entering this mysterious house. And Odysseus decided to follow this rule. At the end, he found this beautiful house with all these animals surrounding it that were looking at him. And at the end, he entered the house. Once he entered the house, of course, Odysseus met this woman. This woman was called Circe, and he was just an inhabitant of that island, of that mysterious island. And she offered him this wine, this big cup of wine. Odysseus took this cup into his hand, and he felt that it was too heavy to be just wine. But he already ate the plant. That's why I feel safe to drink this, weird liquid. Circe was waiting for something. He was kind of smiling because she knew that something would have happened. But at the end, she realized that it was not. Odysseus looked around himself, and he saw a lot of pigs. A lot of pigs that were like trying to reach him. Okay. And Circe confessed. She said that she didn't do it to attack, but she did it to defend. That many different ships full of men come to her house and they had the goal to hurt her. They don't want to be polite to her. And her only way, since she's a mage, she's a wizard, she's a witch, the only way to defend was to turn this man into pigs or animals overall. Odysseus say that he cared about this situation, but if she wanted to be still alive, she should have to bring back his mates. Something was created, a bond between Circe and Odysseus. That's why Odysseus, with all his men, Odysseus decides that they would have stayed a little more in that house. Every day was, okay, tomorrow we're gonna go. But it was never like that. All his men were starting to feel weird because no one ever talked about what they felt when they were turned into pigs. But something inside them was changed forever. And they were trying to tell this to Odysseus, while Odysseus was just spending all his time with this Circe. Many people say that it was love, it was some kind of feelings. Many others that Circe was revealing many secrets that not even the gods themselves knew. And that's why Odysseus wanted to stay there. But at the end, Euroloco, the second command, just, burst and say, no, we have to go away. We cannot trust Odysseus because Odysseus is not between us anymore. He's under the spell of this powerful mage. So Odysseus got convinced and he decided to leave. The last moment with Circe was with her giving to him a black parchment. That was the map of the underworld. And at the end, she whispered in his ear, in the ear of Odysseus, a secret. No one knows what happened next to Circe. When they left with the ship, the island was disappeared in some way. And many of them started to think that they never went there, that it was just a dream, an illusion. But that island never existed. The only truth is that every time that Odysseus looked back at the sea, he smiled.